Good morning and welcome to The Art of Composition. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. Today I want to look at an artist named Robert Liberace. I came across his work on the Art Renewal Center, and I have to say I completely fell in love with it. Amazing stuff. And he's part of the Atelier movement. This is all part of the same movement. So I thought what I would do is just take a look at one of his paintings today and point out a few things that might help the artist learn a little bit more about composition and the harmonic armature. All right, so let me get started. All right, before I drop the harmonic armature, there's a few things that I want to point out that stand out to me. If I bring this painting down a little bit smaller, I can see some dominant lines coming into play here. You have a diagonal line here. You have a strong vertical right here. You have a diagonal line also coming in here. And then you have the angle in this area here. You have a vertical right in this area here with the face meets that finger. That finger is a very strong vertical in my opinion. I think this right here is a dominant vertical, but in this area it's also an important vertical. Let me just bring this back up again. You have a division here, and then you have a vertical here. But you also have a diagonal line which plays out right here, and then you have a shorter horizontal right at the seat where the girl's sitting. All right, so with that said, let me drop the harmonic armature and show you how the artist is getting some of these important divisions. So yeah, I released a new user's guide. Like I said, it's only 92 pages, and I think it's better because it's more focused and it's less scattered. I will do a video lecture that accompanies that, but I'm not even sure if it's needed, but I like to do it just to explain a little bit. But 92 pages, that's quite, for me, it's quite an accomplishment because I tend to think more is better. But you know, over this past year, I'm realizing more is not better. Less is actually better. And it's funny because my original user's guide was over 500 pages, and I look back on it and I go, I don't know what I was thinking. Seriously, it was way too much. And the reality is, it's when I was reading Thomas Kegler's PDFs, I realized that you don't need a lot to help the artist get started. You know, his PDFs they're a total of 7 pages. And it's amazing how much you can learn just in a few pages. And when you look at Aristides' books on composition in classical painting atelier and classical drawing atelier, they're only one chapter, and it's enough to get the artist started. So I'm realizing that less is better. The other thing is that because I'm doing so many videos, I didn't feel the need to have a long user's guide because most of the information that I teach is in my video lectures. When I just drop this diagonal line, this is picking up this area here I mentioned before, which is a very strong dominant diagonal line right here. And that's coming from this diagonal line in the armature. It's right there. But I will show you how the artist is locking their subject into place, also with vertical and horizontal lines. You have a vertical here. I had mentioned this before. When you drop a vertical here where these two diagonal lines intersect, it locks this area in here, and it also gives you this vertical here in the front of the calf area, the knee, and then down. But I'll bring it to this point. You have a horizontal line right here where she's sitting, and that is derived from these intersecting diagonal lines, and I'll bring it to that point. But you can also drop a diagonal line right here where this diagonal line is in the thigh. If I drop a diagonal line that runs through these intersecting diagonal lines on the armature and bring it across, it gives me that diagonal line as well, and then I have this vertical which meets right here. And I learned these methods, you are reading the book, The Painter's Secret Geometry. And this is where I think it's much better to teach in this way. All right, you have a division here in the face and the finger. I'll just run that to that point. But also notice this diagonal line in the hair, and then this piece coming out there is following that. But also this diagonal line right here. Let me highlight in blue what stands out in this painting as far as divisions and all that. So let me change this to a solid line, convert it to blue, and thicken that up just a little bit. All right, so you have this diagonal line in the arm right here being played out using the armature. You have this vertical right here, and I'll bring this all the way down to this point. You have this diagonal line right here. And then, of course, you have this diagonal line. I'll try that again. This app is really quirky sometimes. When you start dropping too many lines, it starts not to register. All right, so you have that diagonal line there. You have this horizontal line here where the girl is sitting. You have this diagonal line being played out in the arch in the back. Remember, the way the artist uses a harmonic armature, there's a few ways. They can place their figures on diagonal lines. They can frame in their subject using vertical and horizontal divisions derived from the diagonal lines, and I showed that last week in an Aristides painting. So there's several ways the artist can use this armature, and it's important to understand that it's just not one, there's a lot of variety to it, even though you're always using those same 14 lines. And that's something I stress in my new user's guide. It's endless. The variety you can get with this it's just endless. So you have this short diagonal line being played out in this area here. Okay. Let me eliminate some of these lines. And then you can see a few of the more dominant divisions here. And of course there's more, but you have to keep the analyzation simple. And actually this diagonal line runs all the way down to this point. Let me bring this down here. This actually runs all the way down. And I'll leave it there. But you can see how some of these dominant divisions, diagonals and so on, are being used on the harmonic armature of the rectangle. But that's it for today. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it, as always.